Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Rhea, followed by a moment of reflection.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated.
Clerk will call the roll. Please correct the pronunciation of your name if it is incorrect.
Anderson, Venegas, Pullman, Pop, Copeland, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Present.
Gary, Giddens, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lizary, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Pearson, Peterson, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Roston, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Virgin, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Walker, Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of April 8th, 2026 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We're now in line for special guests of the Senate. Curtis Pennell, you're recognized. At the Seeing that he's not here, we'll move on. We are now in line for general orders of the Senate, beginning with reports from Senate leadership. I recognize myself. So hi, everyone. Rules met on Sunday, April 12th, and we looked over 8 pieces of legislation, 4 of which were found favorable, 4 of which were found unfavorable. And I want to reiterate that the reason that those were found unfavorable was mostly because of a lack of research. So what we want to see in legislation, obviously, is the most amount of research that you can give to give more substance to your pieces. And with that, I yield the question. Seeing none, thank you. We'll now move on to a report from the Academics Committee. Chairman Seitler, you're recognized.
Hello, everyone. Academics met Monday, April 13th at 6 p.m. in the LSC. We had no legislation to review, and we mostly just talked about legislation ideas, and we explored the idea of potentially tabling at the end of the semester for academic-related wants and needs. TBD, we're still working on that, but that's all. I yield to questions.
The Senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the we will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Spurgeon, you're recognized.
Finance Committee met at its normal time for an interview for the nomination of treasurer, and then also virtually reviewed recordings of the interviews for 4 comptrollers who were all found unanimously favorable by virtual vote. Joseph Yarborough, Karis Collins, Cameron Smith, Harrison Vesco. They're not present tonight for oath of office because they're virtual votes today. But yeah, I think they're strong candidates. We had 1 no-show. I yield questions.
Senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairwoman Cumby, you're recognized. Not here, so we'll move on. We will now hear a report from the judicial. Oh, is there a representative present? You're allowed to speak.
Hey everybody, we met last week to discuss SBL 11811 with two co-sponsors, Lewis and Cluj. Committee found the piece unanimously favorable with an amendment. The amendment adds a legal requirement for pepper spray in South Carolina established by the SC Code 1623-470 that states pepper spray should be no more than 50 cubic centimeters properly stored and utilized for only lawful self-defense. The committee is also in the process of researching a registration system for pepper spray in partnership with USPD or USCPD so that students do not have their pepper spray taken away at university sporting events. The meeting concluded with discussing the tabling event with the parking and transportation that occurred yesterday. We are in the process of further disseminating the survey that is centered around students' understanding of bus navigation, especially at night. The committee will not meet tonight after Senate due to Chairwoman Trumby's absence, but we'll meet next week for the time. I yield my time to questions.
Senator yields us time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Kunkel, you're recognized.
Good evening. The Judiciary Committee met yesterday at 7 p.m. in the LSC and we reviewed 5 pieces of legislation, so please bear with me as I go through some of those votes. In addition, the committee also met last Friday at 3:30 p.m. to review the nomination of Thomas Spurgeon to be Student Body Treasurer with the Finance and Powers and Responsibilities Committees as well. We found the nominees unanimously favorable. Moving to legislation that we discussed yesterday, SBL 11807. It's found unfavorable. This related to delegation chairpersons, although not because it was a bad idea in and of itself, rather because the committee wasn't sure if we still thought that delegations needed to be in the codes at all. And we think that's a big topic we want to discuss with everyone and not just put a bunch of legislative effort into it if it doesn't deserve that. So we think that there's some great work done and we have more legislation on the same topic next week. And so if we decide through talking to more senators and through a more robust conversation on the committee side that we do want to leave delegations in the codes, then we can just take that same content and put it into the next bill. So it wasn't a mix, just rather when we have a broader discussion. SBL 11808, which was the President Council with this bill, was found favorable with amendment. We thought that many of the changes were amazing changes in the codes, although we were a little bit apprehensive about removing the position of chairperson from the committees in President Council, and we worked together to put that back into the bill so that the committee chairperson position would remain. And aside from that, nothing else was touched. SBL 11809, which has to do with oath of office requirements in Chapter 4 in the appendix. That was also found favorable with amendment. That amendment is not about the substance of the bill, but rather a scrivener's error on my part and a section of the codes that currently does not include student senators. In the same paragraph, we talked about executive officers being sworn in, which happens at the same time in inauguration by CC. We were just adding that in to make sure that we covered all our bases and the original intent was not changed. SBL 11810 was the bill that worked a lot of Senate operations, including the parliamentary authority, veto power, and amendment processes. This bill was also found favorable with amendment. The amendment didn't change anything in the actual substance of the bill, but rather it added another provision that reforms our second reading calendar in the Senate, which I look forward to talking to y'all about a little bit later. And then our final piece, SBL 11812, was about amending the Constitution to increase the divided treasurer requirements for credit hours. We found this unfavorable because we didn't see any reason that this needs to be increased, because we haven't seen any issue in the present or in the past couple of years to indicate this is needed. And then in our discussion on this topic, we found out that there's some pretty big problems related to credit hours in the codes, where if you had a resignation of one of the 4 executive officers and one of the lower ones didn't have the requisite the needed credit hours to elevate, we'd have a permanently vacant office. And so we need to put a lot of work into that probably and have a larger amendment to the Constitution to prevent any succession problems and to sort of standardize those credit hour requirements. And we think that's a piece that needs more collaboration. And this piece in particular doesn't even actually, doesn't really touch the lines of session at all. So that sort of ignores that really big problem. So we think we can do that a little bit later, probably open session. And with that, I yield the question.
The chairman yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Liberties and Representations Committee. Chairwoman Sams, you're recognized.
Hi everyone, we met last Thursday at 5:15. We discussed questions for a survey that was being sent out to Carolina Life in collaboration with Kim and Sightler, just about accessibility. And we brainstormed different initiatives and possible organizations to work with, such as the FCSC, and St. Clair again, and the International Students Association. And with that, any questions?
The chairwoman yields her time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairwoman Loser, you're recognized.
Hi everyone, Powers had the regular meeting last Thursday and we went over scheduling more interviews, and then we met on Friday and we met Wednesday after Senate and we interviewed Chase Durant, and he was found unfavorable with a vote of 3 nays, 2 ayes. We just feel that his answers could have had more depth and clarity, and we just feel that he could have demonstrated his transferable skills a little bit better. And additionally, Powers also met on the 10th to interview Thomas Spurgeon for the office of treasurer, and he was found unanimously favorable. He showed a structured vision about what the responsibility of the treasurer really was, and he had a clear vision and action plan for how he was going to approach that position. And with that, I have no further questions.
Chairwoman yields her time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairman Serfune, you are recognized.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Student Life met yesterday at 5 in the LSC to brainstorm and hold our final confirmation hearing for Autumn Williams as Secretary of Athletics. We found her unanimously favorable due to her eagerness to get to work and great ideas in her action plan for this upcoming year. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
Chairman yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairwoman Modica, you are recognized.
Hi everyone, we met on Monday at 5:30 in the LSC from 5:30 to 5:55. No legislation, but we did have a tabling event on Monday from 11 to 2. And we got over 90 responses about just ways we can be more sustainable around campus, and we kind of talked about the feedback we got and like ideas about future legislation that we could all write. But other than that, we had nothing else. I yield my time to questions.
Chairwoman yields her time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now have a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Associate Justice Frittner, you are recognized.
The codes are updated, and I have nothing to report. I yield my time to questions.
Justice yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Student Senate. Are there any representatives present? Me, I'll recognize myself. Hi guys, Kiki's very sorry that she had to miss Senate this week. She is watching the live stream, wishing she was here, but she's very happy to hear all the great work that you guys have been up to. She wanted me to let you know also that she will be appointing senators to the Summer Advisory Committee next Senate session, so if you're interested, please fill out that form that she sent in the group me. Just a reminder also, the Summer Advisory Committee is run by the Speaker Pro Tempore, which will be someone else because I'm not going to be here, over the summer. And they meet about twice a month. The attendance is not counted towards your total of unexcused. Overall, the committee creates a monthly report on university administration and student government actions that affect the student body. Then they share it with the senators for feedback, collect their responses within a week, and send a monthly summary of the feedback to the executives. I urge you to join to stay up to date on things going on with the university and come into next semester ready to go. That being said, I will be graduating and resigning from next Senate session, so there will be an election for a new Speaker Pro Tempore. And if you're interested, please prepare for a speech when that time comes. And also just a friendly reminder that SGY training is this Sunday. So I believe the RSVP has already expired. But anyway, I yield to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Lees. I am not sure. Good question. But you'd have to ask Steve. Senator Moore. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we are now in line for a report from the student body treasurer, student body president Cole Rotundo. You are recognized.
Everyone, I'll keep it short and sweet. Hopefully this is the last time I have to come up here and give this address. I just want to thank everybody that was a part of the process of selecting the new treasurer, not only to my advisory committee, but to everybody who interviewed Tommy. And I have a lot of faith in him that he will exceed the expectations of the office and be able to work with all of us to get people the funding that they need. I yield my time to questions.
President yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body vice president, Vice President Myron Harris. You are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Shorter one for me as well. Safety walk, April 20th, 7:15, 8:15. Please send the LSC at 7. Also, I'm going to be sending out an email to you all to join a group me. I know you're already in a Senate group me, but the SGY group me is going to be where I put all the sign-up geniuses and stuff. And we have 2 coming up, one for course evaluation tabling and then one for Let's Clear the Air. And Let's Clear the Air is the one I need you guys to be at because everyone's coming to give feedback, and that's what you guys would hope. Usually, write your legislation for, because students are going to say what they want. I yield the question.
Vice President yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body president, President Cole Rotundo. You are recognized.
All right, I'm back. This one's going to be a little longer, but hopefully shorter than my last one last week. But as y'all probably know, I did veto SBL 118, and I'd like to reiterate why I did that, because I know there's some people who may not have been here last week. So my reasoning is that it is unfair to the freshman council, and it hinders their ability to get involved in campaigns in a meaningful way. And, you know, I just don't want to ever have a situation where we are infringing upon someone's ability to get involved in something that is technically outside of student government. I think it sets a dangerous precedent. It can result in a chilling effect. It could cause a drop in the FROCO retention rate as campaign season approaches because people drop FROCO in order to join a campaign. And it discourages candidates from involving FROCO on their campaign because campaign preparation is done and adding freshman counsel is too much of a risk from the violation standpoint. We also have examples of freshman council members of the past being involved in campaign leadership prior to the start of the official candidates, the official campaign period. The biggest example of that is Courtney Fax. She was the campaign manager for the speaker candidate. She was able to then become the chief of staff for that speaker, became vice president, and then became one of the best presidents we've had at this university. So I would never want to rob another FROCO member or the university of an individual that could rise to that high standard like we expect our freshman councils to do, because they are the best of the best as far as our freshman class. And the bill itself is very unpopular among the most recent FROCO class. So of 27 freshman council members, this last class that responded, 77.8% of them were against this bill. So if we're representing our constituents, you know, to the best of our ability, that means representing their wants and their needs. But I don't think we should just toss aside the thing that this is trying to solve, because I agree that there is a problem when it comes close to the campaign season and people are not as focused as they should be in their current role. But I think this is a student government-wide issue, not just isolated to the freshman council. So the problem itself comes from a lack of knowledge on what the elections process entails. And that lack of knowledge leads to speculation and conjecture. I want to work with Senate, the Elections Commission, the Vice President, and FROCA directors to brainstorm a solution that solves this problem without the drawbacks of this bill. Increasing the education surrounding campaigns and elections is the first step to demystifying them. The Elections Commission can expand their educational presentations to include workshops on how to get involved in a campaign and how to be an informed voter, not just how to be a candidate. This educational approach will decrease the uncertainty surrounding how the election process works by increasing the student body's knowledge of the election process and timeline in advance. And we can even increase voter turnout by a sizable amount. There's a quote that I like from the Center for Education Reform, and it kind of sums up this solution perfectly. It says, "While it cannot cure everything, education is the best antidote for ignorance." So I'd ask that you all would join me in working towards a solution that works for every student, and so that every student can use their voice to positively impact the university. I yield for questions.
President yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Lewis? Granted. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for the special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications? Oh, sorry, we actually have a special guest that is going to speak. Curtis Purnell, you are recognized. Go ahead. Curtis Purnell, you are recognized. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, how y'all doing? I'm only gonna be up here a short amount of time, so it's only give me 10 minutes, so do this properly. So, it might be one what I'm doing up here. I'm representing the Center for Student Engagement. And the Center for Student Engagement, what we do is we foster connection, we foster community programs, events. If you saw Hip Hop Wednesday today, that is our office. We put on that for you guys. And we make sure that every student feels seen, valued, and effective. So, might be wondering why I'm doing here. Like they say, my name is Curtis Purnell. In the Center for Student Engagement, I'm over the MAP program, which is the Multicultural Assistant Peer Program, and that's the mentoring program. And I was given the task to talk to y'all about being mentors. All right, so y'all are college leaders, and leadership happens everywhere. So whether that be group projects, student orgs, if you're an RA, a peer mentor, and if you're doing internships, that's part of leadership here on campus. So what does mentorship really look like? That means that you are guiding your students. You are not controlling them. That means you are developing them, not fixing them. That means you actually listen to the students and not lecture them. Just like I'm doing now. I'm not trying to lecture to you like a class. I'm trying to talk and listen and talk to you guys and actually listen to you after this. So there are 4 different skills to be a better mentor. Skill number 1 is active listening. So when you pause, you actually listen fully and you reflect back. So that is when I stop, repeat what you say back to me, we'll then just go from there. Skill 2 is when we ask better questions. So some students that come to my office, I ask, what are your next steps? What's blocking you from completing your task right now? And what does success look like? Skill 3, feedback. Feedback is what drives the student, and that's what builds the students. So when you give feedback, make sure you're clear, make sure you're focused on action, and make sure your feedback offers next steps.
Oh, wait.
Skill 4.
There we go.
Skill 4, build independence. I like to not micromanage my students. I hate micromanagement because that's the worst thing that ever happened to me when I worked in fast food. My boss micromanaged me. I hated that. So when you get to the students and you get to mentoring them, do not micromanage them. Do not hold their hand. Encourage them to take ownership of what they're doing. Let others lead. So let them take over and actually lead.
So some common mistakes that we see when we are actually doing the mentoring process and I'm training my mentors, we see that the mentors are doing everything for the students. Don't do that. They're not babies. They can do it themselves. Sometimes we see students, like the mentors are scared to avoid self-talks. Sometimes you gotta have self-talks with them. These students, they need to listen. They actually, I have some students I have to give self-talk to after this, but it's okay. Like I said, the skill for over helping, not over helping students. Please don't, because if you over help them one time, they're gonna think you're gonna do it for them the rest of the times. So some key takeaways that you got with this this presentation is make sure you ask better questions, listen fully to your students, give feedback, support, and don't solve. Because my final thought with this is leadership equals impact, and impact equals the people that you develop. And this is my contact information. I think I did this under 10 minutes, so you can tell PT I did this. All right. Thank you. And I yield. Any questions? I think I did it right.
Yields, any questions? Any questions?
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Seeing none.
Gotta get to me now, please. Thank you. Thank you.
We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from Senator Cumby requesting to remove herself from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee.
Approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the veto of SBL 11801.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the resignation of Jack Matthews from the position of Student Senator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the conditional resignation of Thomas Spurgeon from the position of Student Senator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read? Hearing no more, we are now in the motion period. Are there any motions? Chairman Conkling. There's been a motion to approve Thomas Spurgeon for student body treasurer. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Okay, so we're going to do a roll call vote now for the nomination. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Hop, Copeland, Fulton, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Aye.
Gary, Giddens, Doppel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lusery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Bourget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Roskin, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Spurgeon, Terhune, Peloka, Villariza, Walker, Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young, Lewis.
With 41 yeas, 0 nays, and 4, or, sorry, what was that? Oh, 4 abstentions. The nomination is confirmed. Continuing on with the motion period, are there any motions? Senator Moore. There's been a motion to add Senator Moore to the Judiciary Committee. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Villaraiza. Granted. Senator Primus. Yes. There's been a motion to remove Senator Primus from the Student Life Committee. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Vice Chairman Roach. There's been a motion to confirm members for comptroller. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Is there a motion to suspend the rules so the nominee for treasurer can take, or sorry, no, we're going to continue. Chairman Terhune. There's been a motion to confirm Autumn Williams for the Secretary of Athletics. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Holbert. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBO 11811. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Young. There's been a motion to add Senator Young as a co-sponsor to SBL 11811. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Chairman Terhune. There's been a motion to suspend the rules so the nominees can take their oath of office. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Is there a motion to reinstate the rules? Sorry. Wait. Okay. Without objection, we are now back in the motion period. Chairman Kunkel. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11810. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Benegas. Oh, I did not ask. Does the sponsor find this amendment friendly? Yes. Senator Benegas. Oh, yes. Does the sponsor of the other amendment find it friendly? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Are there any other motions? Seeing no more motions, is there a motion to... Oh, Chairman Kunkel. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBO 11809. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Chip. Oh, yes, Finley, yes. Okay. Any more motions? Senator Lewis. Chairman Kunkel. Yep. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11808. The sponsor of this amendment, find it friendly. Finding it friendly, without objection to order. There more. They should be in the amendments folder. Yeah, I was going to say. Yep. Oh, Senator Lewis. Okay. Oh, Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to reconsider the veto of SBL 11801. Is there a second? All opposed? Oh, we have to go to a roll call vote, yeah. Oh, yes. Since there is an objection, we will now move to a debate period on this piece of legislation. Chairman Kunkel, you're recognized.
All right, so I see that we are, first of all, it would just be a motion to override the veto, it's not to reconsider. But given that we are, now that we are doing that, and we're up for debate on this problem, I want to just get at what we're doing here. We would be overriding the president's veto, who, just like all of us together, represent the student body all within himself. This is a checks and balances thing, and so I think we should we should treat his veto with some respect. I also think we should think again about the reasons that he gave for his veto. The president was incredibly clear about why he vetoed this legislation, SBL 11801. He said that the majority of the beneficial parts of that bill, the parts that the committee and the Judiciary Committee in the first place tried to fix, were fine. He has no objections to those parts. It is exclusively the part about allowing freshman council members to sign on to campaigns before the campaign period starts, which right now is completely allowed underneath the student government code. We polled the student government members, specifically the freshman council members who would be affected by this bill, and we found that they were overwhelmingly opposed to this legislation, overwhelmingly. And that includes members who actually were not members of the executive campaign. There were people who responded to the poll who said they were not members of the executive campaigns whatsoever who were opposed to this legislation. So we see that freshman council members, those who would be most affected by this legislation, oppose the legislation.
Senator Gibbons. Granted.
Oppose this legislation overwhelmingly with almost an 80% margin. We also see that it would be disincentivizing freshman council members from taking office at all, and it would be treating them differently than everyone else in student government. They would be treated differently from GR members who are freshmen. They would be treating them differently than members of other cabinet committees who are freshmen, or any other area of student government. They would be treated differently, even as they're the cream of the crop. We've litigated this time and time and time again. And we saw that the committee amendment, which does exactly what President Rotondo was looking to do with this, which is to strike that part, actually had pretty significant support in the Senate. So I really don't see why overriding a veto in this case is needed, why it's warranted. I think that the provision that the president was trying to prevent from going into the code was detrimental, and the veto prevented that from going into the code. So I think personally that the veto made a lot of sense, and I'm sure the president would be more than okay with us bringing back the other non-controversial parts of this bill, putting them into a separate bill, and passing it, and I'm sure he would have no problem with that, given that this single provision, that one line, a couple of words, is what calls the legislation to be vetoed. So I really think that this is a waste of our time, and that we should continue on with other 5 pieces of legislation and amend the codes that are really more important than this, and we can revisit this issue in the non-controversial parts that don't undermine the interest of freshmen later on. And with that, I yield my time to question.
The chairman yields the time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Morgan.
That's correct. Sure. I would agree with that. We also had 16 individuals on the first roll call vote that voted for the amendments. They opposed that controversial provision. And so that's a significant number of people in this body that opposed that. We had, I think it was 12 people abstain in the first section. So that means if all of them had voted, we don't know how they voted. And so there are a significant number of people in this body who were not okay with that bill going through in its final passage. And again, there's a big difference, remember, between the final passage vote and the amendment vote. President Rotundo's veto is based on what the amendment sought to fix. And that's why he vetoed. The final passage is a separate vote, and we should not be thinking about those numbers. It's the amendment that matters. And so I agree that being on the second tested reading calendar and that amendment receiving so much debate shows that there are divisions in the Senate over this issue. And I think that if the president, if the ultimate individual who represents the entirety of the Senate body vetoed this, I think we owe him and ourselves time to debate on this problem again, come up with a solution that we can all agree on and that isn't so fiercely debated. And I'll also note that whenever we did the final passage last time, there was the motion to reconsider on the amendment that was handled improperly and was unparliamentary. And so I still happen to think that that final vote should not have happened in the first place, both on its merits and on parliamentary authority and the way it was handled.
Any other questions? Senator Young.
I agree that it could be a problem. I don't see empirical evidence to suggest that this is an issue big enough for legislation to touch. I think that it could be an internal thing. We saw, I brought this up last time, we had around 1,600 Carolina card swipes. Those were interactions with the freshman council from the student body. And 850 of those came after January 1st, which is, and that's in the heat of campaign season. And so that was 51% of the interaction. So the numbers don't show that freshman council is vastly less productive during the campaign period than whenever they actually are on campus. The thing I think they could do with some work from the vice president's staff is the culture around it, being open and transparent about what the process looks like, making sure we're focused throughout the year, no matter what time it is, on what we do in freshman council. And that's the same thing with everyone else. We have members of student government that are in very important positions in student government and are running campaigns. And that, for sure, takes much more effort on what they're doing and could distract them from their positions more than freshman council members who are 50 in number and are in relatively low positions on the campaign, though obviously we've seen some parties that don't have that same thing applied, like former President Tax. But yeah, I think it could be a problem with the culture, and I think that's something that an open and honest discussion with the freshman council members through the vice president and the director should fix. It's not a code issue. I really don't see the empirical evidence it's an issue at all right now as far as effectiveness goes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are still in the, Senator Lewis. Yeah, we're still in the debate period. Are there any other senators wishing to debate? Senator Lewis, you're recognized. Senator Walker. Granted.
Yeah. Let me just start off by saying this. This is why, taking a minute a while ago. Let me just start off by saying this, though, is that the Senate voted on this bill, and guess what? We passed it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and,
beat a dead horse up, anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is that if we pass it one time and we get another opinion saying, we don't like the bill and we don't think the bill is fair, why should we go against what we already done by passing it? We follow our procedure and our codes and just give up. I believe that if the Judiciary Committee had the amendments and wanted to change it, we should have changed it if we thought there was a problem. Now, the student body president is talking about data I haven't even seen. I don't know who these freshman council members are. I don't know where, the data is not in my email. I mean, I don't know I don't even know who these people are, let alone where the data is at. I mean, I'll be more than happy to see what the student body president is talking about if I have the information, the PDF in my email for me to read and understand this. Another point to be understanding is that if we're talking about surveying freshman council members that was just in freshman council, I don't know if that data will be unbiased or not. I mean, why didn't we survey the other 20,000 students on this campus that were elected by us? What about their opinions? I mean, I'm not going to just say, 10 students told me this and that's what we're going to slap on the wall and we're going to call it a good day. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I am going to do what the students elected me to do, and that's to represent all students, not one group, not a particular, none of that. I'm here to represent all students. So I believe that maybe Cole do have some good points, but it should have been done a little bit more appropriately. We should have been contacted. We should have been reached out to. I got an email from Cole about setting up a meeting, but it had no data on it. It had no information on it. I mean, we already passed it one time. And this happens all the time within the federal government and the state government. I mean, the General Assembly passes something and the governor vetoes it, but the General Assembly overrides the veto because guess what? Legally, they passed it. If we thought it was so bad, we would have cut it off from the get-go. But we didn't do that. And I'm not going to get through too much. I yield my time to any questions there may be.
Senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions?
Good job.
Senator, please.
I believe anytime we are debating bills and recommendations for students, there should always be discussion. We should just not be slapping hands in the air and voting on things without any talking about it at all. So yes,
Senator,
it should have been a debate.
Senator Moore is interruptible. No.
That was it.
Oh, Senator Benegas.
That is a good question. Yes, my opinion could change if I was shown the data, I was shown the list of people that were surveyed, if I was shown who was contacted, who was not contacted, if I was shown why my name was not originally in this to be part of that meeting that they had. Yes, all those factors will probably change my opinion.
Senator Benegas.
I can't appropriately answer that question because I can't speak of somebody's personal motives. I don't know about somebody's personal motives.
Senator Medina.
Yeah, let me just say this. I have a Monday through Friday schedule. Cole has a Monday through Friday schedule. I just can't flip a wrist and just say, you know what, 11 o'clock, I'm going to be here on Friday. I have classes. I have other things going on. But let me also say this. If you cut the edges off of your bread, it is still bread. So the matter of the fact is that how we look at this is the problem. We still have a problem and an issue. You can't put paint on a hole in a wall and you think it's going to be fixed.
Chairman Kunkel.
That was already asked and answered. But for your other question, I would say is that yeah, the numbers are in our records, and I took a look at them. I don't have to really say that publicly.
Senator Moore. Oh.
No, I'm gonna disagree with you. And let me just say this. I don't want to get too bogged up here, but let me just say this: is that we have freshman council joining campaign teams. When they announced the results right here on Green Street, our freshman council is gone, packed up and left out of student government. Next thing I know, they're all in a presidential cabinet. They're all in the president's branch. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say I read minds, but you can get what I'm trying to infer. It's not too hard to put two dots together.
Senator Hume.
Yeah, I never said that. I never made that allegation. I never said that I made that allegation. I don't even think nobody's even related to be called nepotism, to be honest. But no, I never said that.
Senator Ward.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, it would have been very appropriately for an email to come in my inbox and say, Senator Lewis, I would like to meet with you to discuss the freshman council bill on the floor.
Chairman Terhune.
I can't really personally answer that question because I feel like that's a subjective statement. I think that I'm a senator, and that I had, when it was on the first calendar, I gave the same questions to Moore, and I told her how I felt, and it was open, and he sat right back there.
Senator Moore.
To my knowledge, no. To my knowledge, no one on my team. I guess no one on my team reached out to Cole, but I can't give you an answer on that one.
Senator Medica.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that. And I would say, and let me just say this, is that by show of hands, how many people, how many senators have seen the data that the student body president is talking about? Point proven. Thank you so much.
Chairman Tempune. Chairman Kunkel.
Can you repeat your question one more time? Yeah, if I get the data, if I get the data right now and we look at it and I see who was part of that research, then we would go from there. But one more time, no, wait, one more time. Who all received the data from the student body president? Show of hands, please. So only freshman council senators that were on freshman council received the data. No, sir. Public information means it has to be in our OneDrive account, according to our codes.
Chairman Kunkel.
Okay. What about the names? Who was contacted? Who was not contacted? What about all that from the data? I mean, if you have it right now, I would love to look at it, and we can just end this right now. I mean, if that's what it takes. I mean, if me and Jess, we want to step outside and just look at this. I mean,
Senator Ward.
to be honest, let me just say this again. I believe that this, bill has great potential. Maybe after this, after we take this vote, maybe we will reach out and see what else we're going to do. But I think that as senators within our code, it states votes have to be put on the record. So you got to put your votes on the record.
Senator Seidler. There's been a motion to limit the debate to 2 minutes. Is there a second? Second. Any opposed? There's no objection, so ordered. You have 2 minutes. Any other questions? Senator Copeland.
Can you repeat that? I'm not sure what you... Yeah, that's what I want. I wanted to go to a vote today, and we vote on it. If it fails, it fails. But the votes will be on the record, and then maybe after that, I'll get the data put in my email and all the information.
Senator Cobb.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. I don't have the data either. I would love to have it. I would love to know who was contacted and who was not and all that.
So sorry. Oh, Senator Coleman. There's been a motion to move to a roll call vote. Is there a second? Any opposed? Seeing no objection, so ordered. We'll now move to a roll call vote. Oh, so sorry. Senator Hargrave. A yay or nay roll call vote. This was, I'm sorry. The yay or nay roll call vote is for the, so sorry. So a yay would be to override the veto. A nay would be to not override the veto. Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Pullman, Pop, Copeland, Fulton, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Nay.
Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lisry, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Forge, Premise, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Walker, Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young,
With 4 yays, 40 nays, and 1 abstention, the roll call is not passed. Or, the motion to override is not passed. Okay, moving on, we are in the motion period. Senator Ward. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Talaka as Senator Ward's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Ward. Granted. Are there any other motions? Senator Benegas. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Primus as Senator Benegas' proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Benegas. Granted. Any other motions? Seeing no more motions, we are now in the first. Oh, is there a motion to dispense with the motion period? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for the first reading calendar, or we are now in the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will read.
SBO 11813, a bill to amend Chapter 2 for delegation members and chairperson reform.
Senator Lewis, you are recognized to speak on this legislation. Vice Chairman Roach. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Luzery as Senator Roach's proxy. Is there a second? All without objection, so ordered. Senator Roach. Granted. Senator Moore. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Walker as Senator Moore's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Moore.
this is a bill amendment, talking about delegations, chairpersons, and, members. So I guess we'll get into the black bill, but we actually can't mention that anymore. But, this one, so if you look at the bill amendment, it gives more context for what delegation members, their responsibility and roles be for like delegation members. If you look at the way it's written in its current form, it's kind of like vague. The new form will add more details and responsibility, but also for the chairperson, if you look how the current way it's written, it says that they should be appointed by, I think it's the second scheduled Senate session within the fall. This moves it from the fall to the spring, so they'll be instead of appointed by the fall, they're appointed by Speaker Pro Tem by the last regular scheduled student Senate session within the spring. And then it also gives like a guideline of like if a vacancy does occur for a delegation chairperson, then it talks about that the Speaker Pro Tem must nominate one by that next scheduled Senate session following the vacancies. But this bill and what the judiciary chair said in this thing could all be, and the one we discussed in the second reading could all be tied into one, depending the further discussions that we have about delegations and the more reform that we make for them. The ultimate goal for our delegations that I think I had for our delegations was to give them like more substances and for it to be proper structured. For many years now, the delegations have just not been properly structured. If you look at delegations, the way it's written now in our codes, the delegations are written very vague. It's very optional. It's not very, it's not very like focused like on student constituents. So I took it and like this like reform for it, where because delegations, the college you're elected by, is where you're going to get those firsthand knowledge of like the student concerns of how they're feeling about things. We always talk about we want to have tailoring for our colleges. We want to do more for colleges. So getting a more proper structured delegation is like the first step of doing that and the first step of leading that. I'll give you one example. If you look now in the codes for delegation, it says that delegation chair can call a meeting as necessary, as meetings necessary. I think, the amendment I propose, we should meet once a month. I think that's very fair, but meet once a month, whole initiatives, like 2 initiatives per year, reaching out to your colleges, tabling and things like that to really be out there with the students, get the information and then bring it back to the student senate of the Senate as a whole, and then the committees about what you feel your student concerns, and so we can really address those concerns. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
Senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Ryan.
Yeah, good question. The reason I moved the deadline up is if you look at our codes, most of our codes, when it talks about appointments or things like that, it says the second regular student senate following inauguration. Well, we felt in discussing with the Speaker Pro Tem and others that maybe we should just say, hey, instead of giving that deadline, we should just say the last regular student session of the spring semester will be enough appropriate time. Because I think if you wait to the fall, it'd be too late trying to appoint them and then trying to have get it up and running. So if you appoint them now in the spring, then they can have the summertime to plan. And when the fall comes, they can start having their meetings and planning their initiatives and getting really the delegation up and running.
Are there any more questions? Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee. Oh, so sorry. Oh, so sorry. Yes, co-sponsors are. We'll move on. Continuing on with the call of first reading calendar, the clerk will now read.
14, a bill to amend requirements for standing committee agendas.
Senator Lewis, you are recognized. Oh, sorry. Is there a co-sponsor for this piece? Chairman Kunkel? There's been a motion to appoint Chairman Terhune as Chairman Kunkel's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Kunkel? Granted.
So So this bill amendment, if you look at it now, if you look at our code, the way it's code is written now, it says that committees should post agendas prior to meet. That's a very vague term. It doesn't really give, structure of like, that's just a very vague, and then under that, it gives an exemption for if that, it gives an exemption for that if the journal has not been, posted, then they don't have to like include the, legislation on there. But the amendment I'm proposing for this is that that the agenda be posted continuing prior to meetings, but in a electronic medium, so that either like posted like in our OneDrive account or sent out to your members like through email or the group me. But then it also gave that even if the journal is not posted, a committee still has to post the agenda for like any like discussions or topics that they're going to be talking about at the committee meeting. The purpose of, I think the agendas, what I got from the Speaker Pro Tem, I believe he wrote the original one, was that for agendas is that so members know what's going to happen in meetings, but also for the public. So if a student is like looking at our records and things like that, they know what each committee is going to be talking about and discuss that because they may want to attend those committee meetings because they're talking about certain topics or things like that. But I will say this to be honest, that this piece probably could be amended after talking with the judiciary chair to take out the exemption clause of it, and to where it's going to now require the clerk to post the journal in a more faster timeline. But we're still going to be working that out and talk about that. But that's just something that could amend this bill. With that, I yield my time to questions.
Senator yields us time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continue on with the call of the first reading calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11815, Amendment 1 to the 118th Senate Rules of Procedure.
Is there any senator wishing to speak on this legislation? Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Rules Committee. Continue on with the call of the first reading calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11816, a bill to amend the Senate attendance policy to include delegation meetings.
Senator Lewis, you are recognized to speak on the legislation, and if any co-sponsors as well are allowed to speak.
Yeah, so basically what this bill amendment is about, it's about amending our attendance policy. If you look at the way the code is written now, it says you can be 3 unexcused absences from city committee meetings, and then 3 unexcused from Senate sessions. So it would just add 3 unexcused from delegation meetings and down there. And then also if you look at the code, it also adds an amendment in our codes where it's saying that the attendance must for delegation meetings will be recorded in the minutes or records of delegation meetings. So it puts all that in one line, it'll put all that in line as well. So it just gives like, the reason that we're incorporating this attendance policy, if you look at it now, delegation meetings now are optional. If a delegation chair calls a meeting now, they really don't have to attend. There's no penalty against them because it's optional. So, this has really just been like a big delegation reform package to really give delegation like more properly structured. And so I think that, if you have to miss a meeting, I don't think it's too hard to let your chair know, say, I'm not going to be there, and they're more willing to work with you. But if you have like 3 unexcused not showing up, I think you're not really fulfilling your duties of being present and being accountable to to your members, delegation members, and also the students. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
Senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee.
You have questions?
Oh, so sorry. Senator Young.
Yeah. It would follow the same. So actually, it's all in 3 different. If you look at the code, it's 3 different. You have 3 different ones. So you have 3 unexcused for committees, 3 unexcused for Senate sessions, and then this is adding 3 unexcused for delegation meetings.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar. Hearing none, that completes the call of the new legislation. We will now move to the uncontested second reading calendar. We are now in the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read. Chairman Terhune. for a week or indefinitely, sorry. Okay. There's been a motion to carry over for a week SBL 11811. Is there a second? Without any objections, so ordered. Sorry. Can you just, I apologize. Senator Ware. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Gittens as Senator Ware's proxy. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Granted. Senator Hodges. Granted. We are now on the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read. It is, are we not in? I guess not. We're going to keep going. We're now in the call of the contested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11807, a bill to create rules and regulations for delegation chairperson.
Senators Lewis, Morgan, and Young, you are recognized to speak on the legislation. Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to carry over SBL 118-7 for 1 week. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11808, a bill to amend Article 7 of Chapter 1 of the Student Government Code.
Senator Roach or Senator Walker, you're recognized.
Hi, everyone. The only reason why this one's on the contest is because an amendment was proposed by the sponsor. So the legislation was found favorable with the amendment proposed by Senator Roach. The Judiciary Committee collectively thought that many of the changes to the codes that were made in this bill regarding FROCO were positive changes, while several committee members, such as I, was concerned regarding the removal of the committee chair position. Thoughts were expressed by Senator Roach regarding making them more temporary to where chairs could be switched every so often. Me personally, I voiced my concern that that would make it harder for a committee to run more smoothly. So that's more the idea kind of that. And in the amendment proposed by Senator Roach, this chair position was put back into the code the way it was, because originally he removed it to where it was temporary, and now he changed it back to where it's not a temporary position. So that's essentially what the amendment is talking about. And I now yield my time to questions.
Senator yields time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Seeing none. We will now move to a roll call vote on the legislation. Clerk, call the roll. Oh. Is there okay. Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to move to the previous question. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Oh, so sorry. Yes, we're going to do a roll call vote now. The folks will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Aye.
Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Olbert, Booch, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lisbury, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons,
Oh, I'm
Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Forge, Primus, Ramkisson, Roach, Rossman, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Paloka, Villarreal, Walker,
Aye.
Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young,
With 41 yeas, 0 nays, and 4 abstentions, the legislation has passed. Continuing the call of the continuing the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11809, a bill to amend Chapter 4 in the appendix of the Student Government Codes to clarify oath of office requirements.
Senator Walker, you are recognized.
This bill basically also is on the contested calendar because the sponsor wants to propose an amendment. So the Judiciary Committee found this bill favorable with an amendment. In simple terms, the amendment basically clarified that senators can be sworn in with executive officers at inauguration, and the original intent of the bill is not changed. It's just an amendment added to the Senate. Just to summarize for those of you who don't know what the bill does, it basically makes it so that only elected or nominated and confirmed members of student government have to take the oath of office. This helps to prevent the members of the Constitutional Council and of the Senate from having to swear in dozens of extra members of subordinate offices of SG. Since the oath of office is primarily meant to ensure faithful representation of constituents, lower level office staff do not need to take the oath of office. And now you'll let me question.
Senator yields her time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to... Yes, we would move on. Is there, and yes, there is a motion to return, or is there a motion to return to the previous questions? Is there a second? No objection, so ordered. We will now move to a roll call vote.
Anderson, Venegas, Pullman, Kopp, Copeland, Fullerton, Humby, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Aye.
Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Over, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Losery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Forge, Primus, Ramkisson, Roach, Roston, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Paloka, Villarreal, Walker,
Aye.
Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young,
So with 39 yeas, 0 nays, and 6 abstentions, the piece has passed. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11810, a bill to amend Chapter 2 of the Student Government Codes to reform parliamentary authority, amendment process, and veto power in the Senate and for other purposes.
Senator Copeland. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Kopp as Senator Copeland's proxy. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, so ordered. Granted. Senator Pearson. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Anderson as Senator Pearson's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Pearson. Granted. Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to question quorum. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Without objection, we will now count quorum, or check quorum. Oh, we already. Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Two-thirds.
Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry,
Present.
Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Goosery, Monica, Moore,
Proxy.
Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Forget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Walker,
Present.
Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young,
Seeing that 31 senators are still present, a quorum has still been met. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read. Oh, sorry, we are on SBL 11810. Senator Walker, you're recognized.
Okay, so this bill also is on this, the contested calendar because it was found favorable. Yes, yeah.
I believe so.
That's
We
right.
passed, we got
Is there another one?
9 already passed.
Yeah, so this bill was found, is on the contested calendar because the sponsor wanted to add an amendment. So the original part of the bill proposed was not changed, but a provision was added with the amendment that got the input of the committee, which was added to reform the second reading calendar in the Senate, which I looked, okay, never mind. Okay, so section 1, the sponsor wanted me to explain each section, so I'm doing that. Section 1 basically allows senators to amend their rules of procedure, which is not currently allowed in the codes. It sets out a specific process for rule amendments to be considered like any other legislation with the codes are currently silent on. The committee of jurisdiction that reviews the rules of procedure amendments is the Rules Committee. Aside from that, the process is just like that of recommendation, not a bill. It also moves Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised into the codes, as the parliamentary authority of the Senate. Section 2 codifies the two-thirds requirement for moving legislation straight onto the first reading calendar, bypassing the Rules Committee, which is currently in the Rules Procedure. Section 3 removes the friendly and / unfriendly framework from amendments to ensure that everyone gets to speak on any amendment that is proposed. Currently, if a senator likes the original bill, but not an amendment that the sponsor finds friendly, they get no opportunity to voice their reasons or to cast a vote. The current system is inconsistent with the real Senate. This amendment makes it so that any amendments gets full debate and votes proposed in the Senate. Also, there is currently no disadvantage to introducing an amendment from the floor that is absurdly long. This legislation would make it so that giving prior notice lets the amendment pass by 1/2, and doing it from the floor requires 2/3 to make sure that a greater number of senators are okay with it being passed, so they may not have time to review the amendment. Section 4. This clarifies that only bills are sent to the president for veto review, not all legislation, which includes resolutions and recommendations. This brings us in line with what the Constitution says. Section 5/6, same thing, essentially changing language from legislation to bills, so grammatical changes, which is the only thing that the president has power over. Section 7, it removes the second uncontested reading calendar so that everyone gets a debate. The benefit of the uncontested calendar is speed and not having debate, but that can be done through unanimous consent, which we already do and have used thus far in this session. The only time that the contested calendar is ever useful is if someone wants to vote no, but doesn't want to debate, which is almost never the case. Having one unified second reading calendar makes it so that every amendment receives debate and preserves the ability for unanimous consent, as we do now. I now yield my time for questions.
Senator yields the time for questions. Senator Morgan.
Yes. Given I'm not responsible for this, I will have to speak with the chair about that, and we'll get back to you. And I apologize if not this week.
There's been a motion to carry over SBL 11810 for 1 week. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Without objection, so ordered. Continuing on with are there any other questions? Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11812, a bill to amend the student government constitution to adjust the credit hour requirement for student body treasurer.
Senator Lewis, Villareza, Morgan, and Kluge, you are all recognized to speak on this legislation. Senator Kluge. 12. So sorry, 12. Senator Lewis and Morgan, you are recognized to speak to this legislation.
Good evening. Yeah, so this is a bill to amend our Constitution for the credit hour of student body treasurer. Now, let me just start off by saying this. I respect what the chairperson said. He said that he has not really seen an issue with this, but he's a freshman, and I'm a senior senator here in the Senate. I've been around a decade for a minute. I've been around this thing for a minute. So I'm a little experienced in what we have seen and not seen. Now, I'm not saying anything personal went on. I'm not saying anything went on. But I'm just saying, though, is that we need consistency within the code. Now, he already said by looking at this, we already found another error in the Constitution dealing with credit hours. And so I think it's more than appropriately, if we want to say here, if we want to say, well, we can just pause this today and focus on the other errors that we have found within the credit hours of our Constitution. That may be appropriate as well. I'm, open if someone wants to suggest that, to me. But, this is not personal to anybody. It's not personal to anybody. We shouldn't even take it personal. This is a professional setting. We're all colleagues, and we need to keep it strictly professional.
To the senator.
Ditto that, but minus the hand banging on the thing right here.
Yeah, let me just say this. I think that when we talk about this Constitution Amendment, I think that it's only been about
I'd say 3, yeah.
about 3 years that we have, some of you don't know this, but 3 years since we have recreated the student body treasurer position. So you might be thinking, well, what did they do before we had student body treasurer? The finance chair. Finance chair ran it. They ran the money, they ran the committee, they ran everything. We didn't have this back and forth bickering going on. But then we recreated the position. When we recreated the position, it was not very structured. It was a rushed moment. It was a rushed thing. That's why the credit limit's a little bit low. Now, I do believe that we need, I'm not saying that, someone that with, 30 credits or 15 credits don't have, the knowledge to be a student body treasurer. But if we're requiring the other positions to have 45 and the president have 60, and then treasurer is 15, that's a big gap. I mean, they're all executive members. They all carry responsibility. They're dealing with money that we have here on campus. They're dealing with money that we have here on campus. And so I believe that it should be taken seriously, and I should believe that it should be consistent, and it should be fair among all executive positions that we have within this. Yes, and I yield my time to the floor if anyone has any questions or concerns.
Chairman Terhune.
Yeah, I believe that having attained 15 credits on campus is one semester. One semester, ideally. But when we require other executive officers to have 30 Columbia credits, to have 45, President 60, I believe that it needs to be consistent. I believe that it needs to be, that you just can't, this is not personal. This is just about, what it has to be. The law says you have to be 21 to drink alcohol. That law does not take into account for someone who may act 25, but they're 17. You still got to be 21 to drink alcohol.
Senator Coleman.
Yeah, I totally see what the point you're talking about. But if that's the case, then we need to lower the threshold for the other positions, the other executive positions as well. Because someone could run for student body president and they transfer here as well, but we're requiring them to have so many credits here on the Columbia campus. I believe that you need to, it puts you in a place to spend a year here on campus, to understand our student government and to understand the campus life, to build the relationship and the, I wouldn't say experience, but to build the knowledge of the Columbia campus you need to lead students.
Senator Gary.
seeing that I do have more seniority in this body than Lester does. To my understanding, no. The finance chair was selected, like all the other chairs were. So if there were credit hour requirements for the finance chair, that would be news to me. But I do believe that the answer to that question is no.
Senator Salaka.
Yeah, and let me add that. I totally agree with that point. Spending a year, say for example, let me just take through it. Say we have students that transfer from USC upstate, and they transfer here. It was at upstate their freshman year, and they transfer here their sophomore year. They spend their sophomore year a year here on campus learning the Columbia campus. And then at the end of their sophomore year, when we have our election this spring, they can be eligible to run for position. But we're not saying they can't run, but what it does is give them that Columbia experience instead of them transfer here after their freshman year, then running their sophomore year, not having much Columbia experience, not putting any time. But let me also add this, is that we're not the only SEC schools that have like on-campus like requirements for credit hours. Some schools require you they have it where you have to be on campus for at least 2 years or 3 years. You know, I was looking at it, Texas A&M have one of the strictest ones, like if you want to run for the student body president. I believe so. You know, when I look at compared to the other SEC schools, we are kind of lenient when it comes to that rule.
Senator Sanders.
You know, what he said about the line of succession was that if you look at it now, some of them would not be able to fulfill those requirements now. So if you look at the codes now, that's why a student body treasurer cannot move up to any positions, because if someone in that position could not meet the credit hours of having the 45. So if the president leaves, then the vice president steps up. The vice president leaves, the speaker of the Senate steps up. That's the line of succession. But for the treasurer does not move up because they do not have the same credit hours as in the line of succession. Yeah, that is correct. That's just how it always been in the Constitution.
Chairman Tugune.
No, I wouldn't think it'd make it any less accessible. I think that, that's, because we have credit hours for other executive positions, for president, vice president, speaker of the Senate, they all have credit limits too. And I believe that it just goes to having consistency, and I believe that it just better aligns our Constitution for how they need to be structured in line of succession. I'm not saying I don't want anyone not to run. I think that if you want to run, you just have to meet the requirements that's in the Constitution.
Senator Siphon.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Sorry, that wasn't a question. Apologize.
Yeah, but it actually does say that if the treasurer does step aside, that the two people should be considered either chief of staff or the finance chair of the Senate committee, which we did consider.
Senator Fuchs.
Yes, sir, that is correct. No, I think the treasurer position is very important. They run their own treasurer branch. They run finances, so that's why I believe it should be given the same consistent guidelines that the other executive positions are required to meet. It should not be some just throwaway position that, no, it should just be, yes, I agree with you. It's a real position with a real authority, and they do lead great change on the campus.
Senator Ward. Granted. Senator Young.
I think it would just keep. I think it would really keep things consistent. I don't think it's going to impact anyone to run. And let me give you a prime example. In the state of South Carolina, you have to be 18 years old to vote. You can't show up at 16 expecting to go vote. So when I say that is that if you have to have 45 credits, you can't say, oh, it's unfair to me that I can't run because that's the requirements. That's just the rules and the requirements that are in place that all the other executive members have.
Any other questions? Senator Talaka. Senator.
Yeah, I thank you for that point, and that just shows that bringing the change is it's not going to be a hinder. It's going to really benefit the students and give them that education. Thank you for that personal
When
story.
it's a point of information, you don't have to respond, but Senator Walker.
Yeah, I totally get your point. I totally get your point on that. But let me just say this though: is that passing this today does not hinder bringing change to the other correction that we need in the Constitution next week. Because guess what? When we have a bond referendum, every line item that we need to change in the Constitution is going to be on that amendment that you vote on. We don't vote on every one different time. We vote on the single one when we put it on the ballot. So to answer that point, changing the credit hours does not affect the line of succession because the student body treasurer is not in the line of succession currently.
Chairwoman Luzery. There's been a motion to limit the debate period to 2 minutes. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Walker.
Yeah, like I spoke with the judiciary chair, probably what I said was that this bill has great content, a great idea. I said your suggestions are correct. We do need to fix the other things there, but we can bring that up next week. We can discuss that next week. We don't have to hinder one piece just to fix other corrections. For prime example, if you have a flat tire, are you going to drive with a flat tire just because you got to wait to get your oil changed? No, you're going to fix the tire, then get your oil changed. So the bond referendum is going to have everything on there we need to create by the Constitution. And I impose you. We can sit down and write it together if you want to have it on the calendar next week. There's nothing stopping us doing it together. I encourage you to work with me to get it done.
Senator Seidler.
No. So that's a good question. Referendums have no limits on them. And if you look at the codes, there's no limit on them. What happens is that, say this referendum does pass and then we bring one up next week, and then until we feel we are done with birth permits, then we'll publish the ballot to put out to the students to change the constitution. So this does not change the rule at all. What this is saying is we're giving the options for the students to say, hey, we want to change our constitution to meet these requirements.
Senator Giddens.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
sorry, but the time has expired for the senator to speak on this piece. Senator Seidler. There's been a motion to carry this piece over for a period of 1 week. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Without objection, so ordered. We will now continue the call for the contested calendar. Clerk, call the roll. Hearing none, that completes the call of the contested legislation. We are now in the open discussion period. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? I know we've been here for a long time, but I think I just want to say something. So I just want to say Senator Morgan. Senator Morgan has appointed Senator Kluge as his proxy. All right. Thank you all for bearing with me. And this was fun, but yeah, just continue working on your legislation. I know I'm not going to be here, but yeah, it was fun. So anyway, is there any other people wishing to speak? We're now in the period of announcements. Any announcements? With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, the Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026.